My name is Donahue. I live at 2485 West Millmore Drive, Sarasota, Florida. I'm 49 years old. I have voted in the November 7th election. It was November 7th, right? Okay, good. Around 7:15 in the morning, and at precinct 110. I saw my poll workers that I see at every election, said good morning, went in with my cheat sheet, and went in and placed my ballot, and I voted Democratic all the way down, and went through the whole ballot. And when I reviewed my vote, it told me that I omitted a vote on the Jennings-Buchanan race, which really struck me funny. But it was early in the morning, and I thought, well, okay, you always have self-doubt. You think, all right, maybe I didn't do it right. So I was able to get myself back to the box. I didn't call a poll worker over. I just thought, well, maybe I screwed up or something. So I was able to cast my vote, and then I re-reviewed it, and it said it had taken it. And then when I was leaving, I was a little shook, but I said, I walked out, and I jokingly said to these wonderful poll workers that are there, said, gee, someday I really like a paper ballot. And what they did was, they gave me a statement that had been given out by Kathy Dent, the supervisor of elections, and they ended up saying, well, here's as good as we can give. And it was a paper that was written on the security of my vote. So when I got in the car, I gave it to my husband and said, so this is what I got, instead of a paper ballot, but they at least responded. Didn't ask me about if I had any problems, and I don't think that they were necessarily aware that there could be problems with the ballot or with any of the voting procedures. So, we went on our way. My husband read the statement and said, gee, that actually sounds like it makes sense. And, maybe this is, good, and maybe it will be secure. And so later that day, I was listening to the radio, and there was a call-in show on WMNF with people calling in what had happened to them. And there were 3 people who called in the same exact story as mine, saying that they had voted in every race, and then when they got to review their ballot, it didn't show that they were going to vote for the Buchanan-Jennings race. So that made me very uneasy, and I thought, whoa, something happened. I didn't feel good about it. And there was a woman, and I can't remember, her first name was Kendra, but she is from SAFE. And she had also called in and left a phone number, and I wrote it down quickly. And I called her immediately and told her my story and said, I just want this to go on record. What else can I do? Who else do I call? So I called the supervisor of elections, and they wrote down my report. They were not rude, where I heard that they have been to other people, but they took down my information, and I explained, that I had heard 3 other stories, so it wasn't like I was making this up. And and I even told them which machine it was. I knew, because there were only 4 machines in that precinct, and so I knew that it was the one to the far left, closest to Fruitville Road. And so anyway, I didn't know whether or not they would do anything. And then I called the Jennings, I guess the next day I called the Jennings campaign to let them know what happened. And I was called back by the Democratic Party, and I called the Sarasota Herald Tribune and let them know, because there had been an article with a phone number. So I called them. So I felt like, as long as I let people know that this did happen and that it was true. But what I also did is, when I went back from lunch, went back to my office, I told everybody in my office, listen to what has happened. This is really wild. And one of the women went and voted that evening, and the exact same thing happened to her, and she was very well aware of what had happened to me, and said, okay, something is not right here. So that was, at least I got to warn her, just to keep her, really watch your ballot, because it may not have been set up well. Well, she knew that there was an alert to it, and it still happened.